The booster course pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been quite the success, so we're looking back at all changes and differences made for the returning courses in Wave 1 of the DLC. The third race of the Golden Dash Cup is N64 Choco Mountain. It's part of a fog-covered massif, featuring a winding dirt road with many bumps and curves, a crystal mining cave ending with a glide over a collapsed bridge, and boulders falling from above to tumble across the path into the lake below. So how does the most recent update differ from past installments? Let's find out. Choco Mountain for Mario Kart 64 was entirely enclosed, with the face-shaped underpass and lake as the only environmental shifts. For DS, the track was very similar to the original, albeit larger in scale. Tour gave it a major visual overhaul, topography adjustments, and the addition of a crystal mine and gliding over a broken bridge. The appearance improved further for Switch, making various tweaks throughout the course, as was the case for each iteration. And there certainly were a fair number of gameplay changes. The scale of the whole course became significantly larger for DS, while path elevations and turns were simplified slightly. For Tour, universal proportion revisions and mild elevation updates were made. In the original, racers could roll temporarily over off-road slopes, causing crashes when driving too far into them. This effect hasn't seemed possible since. The northernmost area in Tour opened up to a cliff edge, allowing for items and vehicles to fall out of bounds. Mini-ramps were placed just before the mountain tunnel that resembles the mouth of a monstrous face. These are gone again now. The tunnel used to pass under the road above only to lead back outside, but this area was transformed in Tour to become a crystal mining cave. Various elements were added to serve as obstacles, like the off-road dirt suitable for shortcuts, a column to be avoided, and swoops that fly through the mine. The curves in here certainly were modified a bit. For Switch, the swoops no longer fly in a straight line. At the cave exit in Tour, a glide ramp was added where a bump used to be in order to fly over the southern area that became a collapsed bridge. The normal blocks for this glide ramp are gone now, and a trick could be performed on the remaining part of the bridge for the mobile version only. For 64, fencing was present here in 50cc and time trials, wrapping around the lake ahead. It was absent for all modes in DS, posing the danger of falling onto an earlier part of the track like higher engine classes before. Boulders always fell ahead, but their drop rates were altered for the handheld, causing crashes rather than squashing racers. Their count was reduced from 3 to 2 in Tour, with increased size and frequency. Now, the rocks tumble differently and their drop rates were tweaked a bit yet again. Drivers are nearly immune to them because of how physics work in the Switch version. Part of the fencing was restored in Tour after the U-bend, and the path was adjusted significantly to feature a 90-degree bend. Off-road dirt was added here to enable a shortcut though. The middle bump near the end was lowered, making it possible to skip over it completely. And now we can drive on the wall left of the mounds. Oh man, joy. This course is chock full of aesthetic changes. All versions have their general lighting, texture, and mild coloration differences, as we've grown accustomed to spotting. But in DS, some hill geometry was adjusted and the path was given a new texture too. The cliffs were redesigned in Tour's renovation, with pattern transitions elsewhere and no shift to cobblestone, but crags and a main peak formed by the lake, as well as small rocks and dead grass along the roadside, strengthened the atmosphere. Speaking of which, fog on the course thinned out a bit to reveal a distinct array of clouds, and a blanket of fog could be seen below the ground level of the site, with rocky peaks sticking out. Aerial fog has thinned out even more now, but the blanket actually conceals more, not less. And spectators have been added all over. In addition, dirt collects on the wheels of vehicles. Cocoa powder perhaps? But it didn't until the Wave 2 update. At the starting line, the banner was redesigned completely. For N64 and DS, it was a white frame wedged between the cliffs that held a black sign with a checkered border and colorful gradient text with the classic font. In Tour, this became a timber support frame decorated with lanterns holding up a hanging wooden sign with azure text, with a ladder leaning on the right side, all themed after the mine further ahead. The starting line itself was updated from black and transparent checks with a yellow strip originally, to 18x3 black and yellow checks in DS. Tour revised this to 19x3 in white and 2 shades of gray, with a starting grid implemented behind it. For 8 Deluxe, the gray checks were altered to feature 2 different hues. An arrow sign was added at the first bend in Tour, and it has since scooted to the right a tad. Dead trees have started at this point up to the cave entrance ever since Tour. The same applies to the addition of the Yoshi's Egg Market sign at the end of the cliff. A condor's nest rests atop the rocks nearby now. Where's the condor? There it is! For Tour's revamp, support timber was added all around the tunnel entrance, with rope fencing put in front of it all. The original underpass here had vertical ridges, but DS switched these to horizontal. And Tour updated it significantly to be a proper mining tunnel, complete with planks, additional support, and even supplies. Headlights turn on here and stay on throughout the mine for Switch. In 64, this area was much like the rest of the track, containing a Yoshi sign that was swapped out for a Yoshi Kart sign for DS. Both signs in this spot were pulled out for the conversion of the southwestern region into a crystal mining cave, complete with many structural and decorative elements, such as crystals, support arches, lanterns, and even more supplies. Across the broken bridge, a concrete wall was built on the right side in the same basic spot as the cobblestone that used to be on the left side. A Dream Gliders sign was put on top too. The lake here originally had a very low level of water, to the point where the ground was visible below, but it filled up in DS. Boulders were remodeled in Tour to feature facets rather than just texture, and some stationary rocks lined the lake. Fishbone and ammonite fossils also covered the basin above the surface and even the cliffside of the U-bend. Giant cracks now mark where the boulders land before making a proper splash when plunging into the water. A falling rocks sign was placed by the restored fence past the danger in Tour. Maybe it was for racers driving in the other direction in the R variant, but it was not removed for Switch. The N64 version had a Nintendo sign just ahead, turning from red to blue and made a bit taller for DS. Likewise, Luigi's signs were swapped out for more decorated Luigi GP signs with adjusted positions. Both of these sign types were replaced with sponsor billboards for Tour. It's a bit generic, but oh well. A few auditory changes are present. In Tour, an echo effect became a natural part of the inclusion of the cave, and a comical whistle of the falling rocks was introduced. Now, howling wind and the cry of a condor can be heard in the opening. Wait, it's windy? What's not as subtle is the music for Choco Mountain. It's a country bluegrass, complete with the staples of harmonica, fiddle, and, of course, banjo. The original is shared with two battle courses for Mario Kart 64, Block Fort and Double Deck. It features exclusive offbeat banjo chording in the A section, while the bridge between the B and C sections has a phrase that repeats 4 times with no divergence. It's a classic. The DS version uses the game's proprietary sound font, but it's otherwise the same composition, except for balancing adjustments and different timing of some symbols. But the arrangement is the concept in its most natural form. There is more humanization in the harmonica and fiddle, and mute guitar replaces some of the banjo, played in a trotting fashion in the A section and accompanied by steel guitar. Clapping seasons several of the drum fills. The B section introduces slide guitar playing, switching to whistling after. Harmonica undertones fill this section also, becoming the lead again when transitioning into the bridge. A Telecaster guitar and slide guitar break the monotony of the repeated phrase this time. They pull back for the C section, alternating before combining with the intensified drums for the big finish. Woo-wee, it's a hoedown! And that's about it for all changes we found in N64 Choco Mountain. It's not really much different from its previous iteration, but with a solid mobile redesign that introduced a mine and a gliding section, maybe it just didn't need yet another overhaul. But what do you think? Have you found any notable changes that we missed? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more coverage of the Booster Course Pass for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and other things Nintendo too. Thanks for watching! Until next time, ciao!